So I'm going to go over a little bit about the project process because for a lot of people who are new to EWB, it's kind of confusing how, all the steps that our projects go through, why does it take so long and all this. The Memorandum of Understanding, this is a memo that EWB has us make, and it's basically an agreement, a formal agreement with the community that says, here's what we're going to provide, here's what you're going to provide. But it's specific, and so in that way, if there's ever a disagreement or confusion, we can always refer back to the Memorandum of Understanding, which is a signed document by both parties, so we know who's responsible for what. So it's pretty important. With the foreign government, of course, in most countries, you're going to have to get permits, sometimes insurance for certain types of construction projects, building permits, wastewater or septic field permits, stuff like that. So it's important to know the regulations of the country that you're working in and make sure that you have all that working for you. And that's something usually that we don't have the ability to navigate because none of us are familiar with those things. So again, we refer back to constant communication with the community to kind of handle that and make sure we're going through all the right pipelines. Usually these things come from the university, our study abroad programs office. Insures us with health insurance and with emergency evacuation insurance, so that if someone did get hurt, we could get care for them with no problem. And also, if there was an emergency in country, like a terrorist attack or some political instability, we could get out of there easily. Site assessments, of course, before you do any engineering work, you need to kind of know what you're working with. And that's the reason we take assessment trips. Basically, the project team works towards finishing each document before the deadline to make sure, and that kind of guides the timeline of how quickly our projects move and also the approval process. 521, this is a document you submit to EWB USA before you go on an assessment trip. And an assessment trip is usually a smaller group of people that go to the country to, take surveys, take data, soil tests, any type of information that you would need to actually design for the project. The 521 basically ensures to EWB USA that you're looking in all the right directions, that you have a plan for when you get in country, and that you know exactly what you're going to be doing and what type of information you're going to be gathering. The Costa Rica project that we just implemented is a computer center with 2 bathrooms. So that comes along with a septic field. So before we could design the septic field, we needed to know the percolation rates for the soil. We needed to know the slope of the soil. So these are things, this is information that we collected on our assessment trip so that we would be able to design the systems later. The 522 post-assessment report. This is really valuable because it forces you to process all the data that you took on the assessment trip and put it into a form that's really usable. It's something, this document is something you'll probably refer back to more than anything else when you're doing your designs. So the 523 is an alternatives analysis, but basically it forces you to go through your original design. You look at the alternatives that are available to you, and then you basically just objectively go through the pros and cons of every one and make sure that you're choosing the right type of project or the right systems to go with your project so that that you have the most benefit to the community. The 524 gets turned in after your alternatives analysis or with it. And basically it's a 30% design complete. And the reason they want this is to make sure that you're on the right track. So the project teams are working towards designs, getting some rough drafts done, maybe some drawings, and a lot of explanations. And then you turn this into EWB USA, and this helps them say, I see that y'all are thinking about doing this. let me tell you some reasons why you shouldn't do that, or why you're going to have a hard time getting approval for this. Approval from EWB, let's say, happens through what's known as the TAC. What does that stand for? Technical Advisory Committee. And it's a group of professional engineers, all volunteers from all over the country, who basically look over your designs and find problems and tell you about them. And finally, the 525. This is due 3 months before travel. That gives enough time to do the TAC. And so 3 months seems like a long time, but it is important to have that 3 months there to get all the final stuff done. And you can ask our travel teams if 3 months was enough. If 2 months would have been enough to get ready for the actual project, and they probably would say no, because there's still, even after you turn in your final designs, there's a lot to do after that. So 3 months is good. Of course, this is the most important part of the project. They say, EWB, the way they say that you should turn it in is basically, if you hand this document to another person who has no knowledge of the project, they should be able to complete the project and understand why everything